The magic contained within the Book of ABRAMELIN is more of a priestly magic used by clerics. It's more focused on the idea of prayer and spirituality as opposed to ritualized incantations and more of the externals. In fact, someone who has not undergone a deep purification of self-awareness, self-honesty, and whatnot, which is actually outlined hundreds of years ago in an 18-month period, without actually having undergone this, the magical operations within the grimoire are completely useless to you. It is amusing then that we find ABRAMELIN's magic squares appearing throughout contemporary New Age books, which suggest their use without adhering to all of these preliminaries, which is outlined very clearly in the Book of ABRAMELIN. ABRAMELIN's sacred tradition is preserved in the only grimoire of holy magic that correlates to the abilities and practices of biblical mages and the magic of the Tetragrammaton. That means that this is, to a certain degree, the magic of the Old Testament, to the biblical prophets and a lot of the mystical abilities that we read of in those stories, and yet these days have a hard time conceiving of how it could be possibly real. Curiously, of the Book of ABRAMELIN, aside from the magic squares, there are no bizarre sigils used or obscure practices required, and the book actually alludes that all such things are actually evil anyways. There's no intricate ceremonies or complex casting of nematons or sacred space. The elements are not addressed and in fact are actually shunned as lesser powers than what is necessary for the work concerned. It acknowledges the use of planetary and other forms of magical timing, but it also says to avoid such as atrocities, since the power of God is always present. So again, it almost is the anti-grimoire.